it's not necessarily linked to the way you finished your.
You have to have a master's degree here, right?
Yeah. So which means about 5 years of studies.
So all teachers do, essentially, or?
Essentially, well, if they really are in trouble with some teachers, maybe there are some exceptions, but in general, the rule is that you have to have master's degree. You go 3 years for bachelor, and then you go 2 years for the master's.
Does the master's have to be related to your subject area or whatever you're doing, or can it be a master's in anything? Or
Well, it's better if you are related.
Yeah.
You have to have some of these requirements needed for the teacher training, so it should be yeah. I don't know, if you finish engineers, you can't go straight to school and teach something.
So what do you think the three things that you would say generally are the reason why Estonia is doing well in PISA? Culture?
It is culture.
Yeah.
It is the fact that we're very much supporting this. We sort of call it comprehensive school, or the school where everybody is equal, which means all schools get the same funding. It's not like the rich kids' schools get more and the poor get less.
Not like the U.S.
It's everybody gets the same funding. It also depends on the municipality where the school is located, how they manage it. But from the state's point of view, everybody is equal. And we treat everybody equally. Everybody, the state pays, everybody has free lunch, free school books, free textbooks. I mean, if you are in a socially disadvantaged position, then very often those families would be dealing in a social care system. But it's not like in school, like the schools would have those systems. So the schools have support centers for students who are lagging behind. For example, if you don't understand mathematics, in grade 6, that kid might go out from that regular math class and have an individual approach where somebody would teach separately, and it's very often happening to the children who are misbehaving or have behavior problems or all of that. So the idea is to notice early enough when somebody needs help and to give that help. And so we have these support centers in all of the counties in Estonia, and so if the schools are small and they cannot have, let's say, a psychologist on the spot, as many schools have psychologists. For example, the school where my daughter goes, they have like 2 psychologists because it's a big school. They have a support system for a speech therapist, social worker. So the schools have these little things within the school where they mark the students that are sort of in trouble. Or
how large is that school that your daughter goes to?
It's about, it's more than 1,000 students.
Okay.
And it's in a suburb of Tallinn. I think you're going to Petri, so it's, Anna was telling me, so it's a bit further, it's the center of that community. And just that, the schools are flexible. If the parent says that my child has a trouble with this and this, then they would organize individual curricula for the kid, and so they kind of listen very much to what parents have to say, and so this supporting the weaker ones, this equality culture, and I think this is part of the thing where we have this picture that the lower end is not so big.
Which is a good thing. How about technology? Where's Estonia going with technology? How much has it changed in the last 5 years?
Everything about because it's Estonia, it's
right.
Cool. So technology is really a big part. You probably went to you've seen something already in the schools.
I have.
So it is very popular that some schools teach coding from the first grade, but not everywhere. Many schools have robotics. Many schools are. So the idea is that if you can have a lot of Facebook and game playing activities, so that usually the kids everywhere in the world are involved. So what many of the schools are trying is that you learn with those things, so that you are smart in your smartphone, and with that there is a lot of these robotics and all kinds of digital activities, and it is getting more and more popular.
So I know Skype came from here and there's some other ones, but when you said Estonia with E, is that kind of something that Estonia is focusing on
Yeah.
coding and IT and trying to,
Well, you probably have heard that we just had Estonia was a presidency country of the European Union now.
I just heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and so we had a huge digital summit for the European leaders in September
Hmm.
when everybody came here. Merkel and Theresa May and everybody was here. And so we talked a lot about many of the issues which are digital and which we do here and which are very strange and unknown for many other countries. Like if I go from the perspective of my work, for example, I haven't signed any contracts by hand for the last 10 years. They're only digital. This is, you just add the ID card,
Right.
which is like this. I have a chip here in my computer. These are the computers which you can get. I add it in here, and yeah, well,
I heard you can vote
yeah.
here, right?
I just submitted my taxes yesterday evening with
You can submit your taxes online,
Yeah.
vote online?
yeah, and this is this platform, the ID. Yeah, and so basically it says who I am. You shouldn't maybe show it because these are my personal data, but the document looks like this. So immediately it is connected because I have this
ID.
ID and the application, and so you can do everything. I can go in there and I can see
Healthcare, everything. I read about this.
Yeah, I went to a doctor. I come home and I don't know what the doctor exactly decided, and I go in there and I see it. But if I see that somebody else besides my doctor tries to check on that, that's a criminal offense, and so they can get punished. So basically, it's kind of it is something that is kind of safe. So we have everything digital. In terms of the government, and the good thing is that they are connected, so I don't have to go to many places for the same thing, for the tax.
Right. But you're saying probably this has like a trickle-down effect in the schools as far as technology, trying to get technology in there.
Yeah, and it also has a positive effect, which there is something called e-school. I can show you that. I have it on my phone. E-school is something which it's again, this is I can see what grades my daughter has got today.
Okay.
What is the homework? Here's a kodoter, that's a homework. So where she had history and Russian and all of that.
Sure.
And then there is surtus, which is communication. So her teachers write to us, or they write to the messages to the whole school. And also, besides, I see her grades, and I see the moment she maybe was absent in some of the lessons. It becomes red, and I see it. So the fact is that this has been also for more than 10 years.
Sure.
And the parents use it. I mean, it's an application which, and if there is a message, then it comes to my mailbox. And if the parents are aware of what is happening in the school, it is also a positive thing. Because otherwise, if you don't know, the kid is gone for I don't know, for a week, or
Sure.
has been just wandering around, and you don't know. But here, you know it immediately.
One of the final questions, do you know here in Estonia are they going towards one-to-one computing where every student has their own computer?
I think every student has their own computer.
They do right now. They take them home, all the books are loaded on them, and
No, we have something called e-school bag, which we're working on, and this is also in this house. We're working on electronic tests and all of that. At the same time, with all of those things, you have to be reasonable. Computer is not a goal in itself.
right.
Computer is a medium of something. So, if there is, it is more reasonable to solve math problems by hand, then you have to use hand. But computer can be a nice addition to that. So according to PISA, it shows that actually the countries in the world which use very much computers in their lessons, they don't perform so well. So their performance is lower than the
That's what
countries.
I've read.
Yeah, and that's the case. So in general, the countries haven't learned how to use computers effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we cannot be, put the head in the sand and say, we'll just go with the books and computers, we don't. So, which is a big challenge for all of us, is that we have to find out how to use it reasonably, how to have this balance between...
A blended learning.
A blended learning with old and with new. And same thing goes with all these new methods of, child-centered learning and all of that. PISA shows that actually the teacher instruction is more productive and your results are better if you use those sort of methods as well. So it's again, you can't have only child-centered learning because it might lay you astray, but you can't also have the old one, the industrial sort of style.
Somebody's in the front, kids just...
So it has to be
a balance,
but with the old and with the new one. And I think one of the reasons is also that because we have like these older teachers, they are kind of, they have their, they know how to get results and they manage to get the results that way. But we have all kinds of new methods and we're trying to make the school life more interesting and we are trying to do all kinds of things. So we don't have the problem of getting higher ranks in a PISA table, which some countries put for themselves as a goal, which is again a funny thing.
But the Soviet system wasn't such a bad system, right? It had pretty good foundation of education, correct?
It had good foundation, and for example, for the science and for the mathematics, it was a pretty good foundation.
Right.
Everything else which was connected with history and those sort of things were kind of like interpreted the way they want. But with maths, and science, and we had very strong, and in Estonia they had their local authors and textbooks, and so we think that it also helped we didn't translate from Russian or from somewhere else, but we had our local scientists who wrote the textbooks for the children.
And a lot of these older teachers probably were part of that system, right?
System, and they got a proper math training, and we still have for the science courses, we don't have them integrated into a little bit of everything, but we have science as a biology, science as chemistry, as physics, and so sort of with the idea that you get a bigger picture.
One thing I didn't see in the schools were young teachers.
Yeah.
Almost all of them they looked closer to retirement.
That's that's a reality.
So this could be a big problem.
This could be a big problem, and that's something that Mark Tucker is writing about. Because once those teachers really go, and if we don't get new ones, then we're in trouble.
Did Estonia copy much from Finland?
Well, that's something that I have heard before, but I think the copy would not be the right word, but we have learned a lot from Finland.
Yeah.
Because once Estonia got free from the Soviet Union and all the curricula was looked through again and or considered what to teach and what not, then there was a lot of looking what is Finnish, what are the Finnish textbooks like and what kind of things are taught, and so there was a cooperation and because Estonians would know the Finnish language as well very often because of the TV from the Soviet times, so they would understand that, and learning definitely.
Final question. So in the U.S. system, you were mentioning a lot of high stakes testing. What they do, for example, in California, I'm not sure it's any different than many other states, is they test once a year. Well, they have lots of different tests, but they usually have one state mandated test. Then they publish these results, the newspapers put them in, then companies take them and assign an A, B, C, D, or F grade. Normally those schools that are in low socioeconomic disadvantaged students like my own don't receive a high grade. I think the last time I looked, they received something like a D grade. So how do you think that type of public humiliation would affect school results? And
we are trying to do everything to avoid it. These tests which happen in between are not publicized anyhow, from grade 3 or 6 or something.
Okay.
The school finds out their individual results, and
Yeah.
they can see where they are, like their countries, where they stand in the country.
But this isn't published in the newspapers?
It's not
and-
published in the newspaper. The only time when it does get published at the end of the high school.
Okay.
But
Graduation?
graduation, yeah, final examination results.
Okay.
With those results, they basically go to universities, and so that's a condition that they need to pass to go to finish the secondary school.
Right.
So then the journalists make the table themselves, sort of based on the 3 exams which they have as a mean scores: English, Math, and Estonian, which is it sort of gets in the public in September or October when they do it, but we have come up with something called value added, which is a different calculation to see how much the school contributes to the students' development. And that is a model which sort of tries to calculate if the school, and very often the schools which have students with lower grades, that they seem to have contributing more than those who got smart students and at the beginning but it's for the upper secondary school from grades 10 to 12.
Right.
So we've tried to do that for 2 years, and it was quite cute to see that that a school, for example, from the close to the Russian borders, they suddenly got in the news because they have had the biggest value added, in comparison to only the schools who get the smartest results and the test results.
I was reading, though, many of the Russian, predominantly, maybe I'm wrong, Russian schools were about a year behind
Yeah,
on PISA.
yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's a good question. It's again, the schools have actually quite some autonomy to decide how they teach and what they teach. They have the standards from the curricula, so it means that some of the teaching styles which they use in their schools are probably different from Estonian ones, and those results are not bad. For example, the Russian schools' results in science are let's see. I will show you that. This would be the. Sorry. So. This is an OECD line. See, these are the points and these are the years. So OECD is below 500. So the Russian students perform above the OECD average. So they have about 500 points, which is a very good result.
Yeah, it is a good result.
But the Estonians perform up here. So there is.
Could that be? Would that have anything to do with culture?
It's again
Yeah.
probably some question of culture.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't. The Russian teachers don't participate in some of the teacher trainings that have been more open,
Okay.
more. Estonians could be trying to learn new methods and new things as well.
Right.
How to get
So
out of
maybe
this.
more old school rather than
Yeah.
child-centered type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So they're more. Tougher with everything. They have the order.
Right. Right.
And
Authority
authority
authoritarian.
is more
Right. Because it's part of the kind of the culture.
the
Huh?
culture. Yeah.
Yeah.